Ever had a moment where you've done everything you can and still nothing's moving? Then this video's for you. Today I want to share with you how I've learned to navigate that still uncertain space between a setback and a breakthrough, because that's where the invisible progress hides. So next time you feel like you've missed a turn, misread the map, like life's always going to be a great mass of uncertainty, you'll have a map. Quiet reassurance that stillness isn't failure, it's a setup. How does uncertainty feel to you right now? Isn't it funny how not knowing can feel like the worst kind of uncertainty? Somehow our brains are always more naturally attuned to what can go wrong rather than what can go right. When I lost my last job and decided to go it alone, there were months at a time when I'd feel all at sea with no solid ground under my feet. I seemed to go from one island of an idea to another, but never stop long on any of them. It was unnerving to be seemingly spending most of my time floating on my back in an ocean of uncertainty. But I could keep my head above water as long as I trusted that the water was holding me. But as soon as I noticed I couldn't see any solid shore, I'd break into some kind of ungainly doggy paddle. That's the uncertainty of the in-between. Nothing's settled, nothing's certain, but everything is still possible. In my life, the islands were things like types of work, the skills I'd use, how I'd get it out into the world. Now, when I catch myself floundering, I ask myself, am I fighting the current? Could I just let it carry me for a while? Where in your life does it feel like you can't touch the bottom at the moment? Have you noticed how often we look outside of ourselves for answers, for validation? I used to measure progress by tangible results, money coming in, people saying yes, visible and concrete proof. But I've learned that my best indicators are internal. Nobody else has a better measure of how things are going. Which steps are worth a chance? Which ones should be avoided? Nobody else knows my capacity as well as me, the tugs I feel at my values, the knowing of my experiences, the understanding of how things currently fit together for me. When everything feels heavy, that's my pink flag. When everything everywhere seems to stall too, that's a big red flag. My energy levels can tell me so much. Time to take a break, time to take a different turn. Time to go back to the drawing board. When ideas start to flow and I catch myself smiling again, that's my green light. Like when I was travelling and I got robbed, that really rocked the boat for me. I stopped feeling safe. I no longer even considered extending my visa. My next turn was all about where to go now. What could work out well for me? Your ability to notice your get up and go can act as a dashboard for you. Heavy is a misfit, light is alignment, and still is pause. But don't panic. If you checked your own dashboard today, what colour would you be seeing? Sometimes we only realise we've been forcing something when we slow to a crawl. Do you often find that sinking into something that feels wrong just makes it feel worse? Frustration used to drain me. I'd stew, replay, try to make sense of the unfairness. Now I see it as fuel. If I point it somewhere, when my efforts on one platform got me nowhere and I started feeling exhausted to boot, I stopped asking, why isn't this working? And started asking, where's the nearest exit? Giving myself permission to acknowledge that this had been a wrong turning for me changed everything. It meant I could start setting a new course in a new direction. I knew I wanted to travel. For me, this meant testing out living in different places abroad, experimenting with short-term stays rather than searching for a permanent long-term plan. At that time, seeking out a permanent solution wasn't a good plan. It was like setting myself up to fail. I quite literally didn't have enough data to make a sound decision based on what I currently knew. But I did have a wide open opportunity to experiment. It turned out to be one of the most freeing, creative chapters of my life. Where could you turn irritation into an exit this week? That period taught me that sometimes even the best ideas can feel lonely when you're the only one steering. Isn't it funny how there are times in life when we feel completely alone, even when we're surrounded by people? There have been stretches in this solopreneur journey where I've had little or no support. Family busy with their own lives, friends fading out, coaches offering advice that felt tone deaf or transactional. At first, I felt more alone than I would like to be. Now I see it differently. Some seasons we're meant to be alone, to be able to listen to our own voice without all the background static. It's not punishment, it's protection. And when there's no other noise, you hear yourself very clearly. Living lightly, moving from place to place, it's shown me how little interaction I need to keep going. I still test things, I still pivot when the energy drops, but the absence of cheerleaders and naysayers highlights my own voice, what I really think, and that it's my take that matters. Like when I was deciding where to travel next, my starter 3-month stints were usually enough for me to get a feel for a place, to tune into what felt right, what didn't. Sometimes I extended in the same region, but a different place. In others, I went for a different location. It was all about feeling what was working for me. And sometimes perseverance without support is what builds the self-trust to recognise healthy support when it finally shows up, and to recognise that it was your own support and self-belief that you needed all along. What's one area of your life where you've had to be your own backing band? How often do you let yourself sink into the doldrums? Happily, I rarely wallow, but I've learnt the value of small self-kindnesses. They help me even the keel and not linger too long in bad spaces. A walk, a hair massage, old rom-coms, cooking something that smells like comfort. Tiny resets that let me know that I'm safe and still moving. I love to experiment with simple, easy ideas. Like when I took up gratitude journaling. I'd lost my job and I was living in an area far from any family. I needed to look for ways to begin again while selling my home so I wouldn't have a mortgage looming over me. It was a tall order, but I read an article and I liked the sound of it. I could easily imagine how useful it would be to pull my mind back to what was still good in life. Little self-kindnesses aren't self-indulgent. They're the fuel that will launch me out into the next round of creativity. What's your 2-minute reset ritual for when life feels heavy? Have you ever been aware of how the bigger picture can be so reassuring? Taking my focus out of the nitty-gritty and panning outwards allows me to see, remember, discover other alternatives. When plans fall apart, I try not to demand answers. I just ask better questions. What feels heavy right now? What feels lighter? Where's the exit? What tiny sign could tell me it's working? Because quiet doesn't mean stuck, it means set up. Like when I've been between jobs in the past. I take stock, a kind of skills and values audit. What I'm good at, what matters most, what I'd like more of next. Then I cast my eye over the options that look interesting and sound like they could work for me. When something feels heavy, it's not for me. But when I heard about jobs that needed my skills and qualities, I'd feel lighter and set about pursuing those. The breathing space between chapters is where the next direction starts forming, but you need to stop to be able to listen properly. What if this quiet patch wasn't punishment, but preparation for alignment? So if you're in that in-between space, don't rush to fill it. Float for a while. Read your own dashboard. Let the next idea surface when it's ready. Your progress might be invisible, but it's not absent. Every seed needs to grow underground first. If this message resonated with you, give yourself a quiet moment to check in. The in-between map can help you find your bearings again. It's a simple 1-page check-in to help you read your own signals. Find small exits and reset gently when life feels slow. Take good care of yourself and trust that the stillness is shaping your next step.